पर तो गवर्नमेंट का वो स्टेक है
इन सम ऑफ देम. हाँ
हाँ.
बट टॉप टियर में तो अभी सर आ गया है नीचे. सो
नहीं ये
पंजाब एंड
यूको
सिंध
आईओबी और आई थिंक
पंजाब एंड सिंध इज अभी जो QIP हुआ है वो उसका तो 98% गवर्नमेंट होल्डिंग.
So guys, I think
We're
Yeah, we are
live
live.
now.
Yeah, we are live now.
Yes.
Okay.
We are live
First question, सजीत सर, आप दूर बैठे हो, मतलब हर्ष को आज दूर बिठाया है आप.
हाँ आपसे दूर बैठाया है.
परेशान करता रहता है.
नहीं आपसे दूर बैठाया है क्योंकि तुम उसको बहुत परेशान करती हो.
हद है यार सर, you cannot like gang up against me and bully me, okay?
नहीं आज के डेट में तो आज तो आईटी है.
आईटी तो ऊपर भी है यार सर, आज तो मेरा दिन है.
तो क्यों ऊपर है?
आज क्यों ऊपर?
I think short covering.
ये नया वो किसी का
शॉर्ट कवरिंग क्या होता है? शॉर्ट कवरिंग शॉर्ट कवरिंग क्या होता है? क्या होता है शॉर्ट कवरिंग?
A lot of shorts built up, you know, when TCS was down, Infi was down, and you know, now since people who have gone short are now buying it back to square off their position, and that is why IT is up, because there's no particular trigger as to which you know IT could be up, because overall the markets are also down.
True.
There is no other point action from the US, you know, which could trigger this move. और 2-3 सेशन से आई थिंक निफ्टी आईटी इज डाउन एज सच because you know last time we mentioned कि there is recession fears, there is tariff fears, discretionary has
Tell
been
me one
pushed out.
thing. One phenomena which is happening for last 3-4 days is the currency volatility, and rupee has appreciated from 87 plus to now 85.7. ₹2 का appreciation last 3-4 दिन में हो गया. What is the kind of impact that IT will have?
सर करेंसी का इम्पैक्ट है.
I know there's a cross currency का भी impact आता है. You have to factor everything.
Exactly.
But let's give a basic
But see,
idea of it.
if you talk about currency impact, I understand currency plays a huge role in Nifty IT as such, but that is not related to operations, right? That is why people look at constant currency growth, and constant currency is what जो currency का effect निकाल देता है. Constant currency growth हम इसलिए देखते हैं because that is actually related to operations. Currency movement is not in the hands
And
of IT
constant
players,
currency
right?
हम हमेशा डॉलर
हाँ
में
डॉलर
देखते
फॉर्म में देखते हैं because वहाँ पे ही largely सारे operations हो रहे हैं, and those things which are in control of IT companies, growth should be looked at from that point of view, and that is why CC growth is what we look at.
But CC growth we normally look for the top line part of it, right?
Correct.
प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी के लिए तो ट्रांसलेट होके करेंसी के
हाँ,
साथ
but
आता
sir,
है.
currency is not a
Will
needle
there be
mover.
an EBITDA impact? for
Sir,
the
currency
other
will
business?
not be there will be, but currency is not
कितना
a
होगा?
needle mover because लोगों के पास hedges बहुत ही रहते हैं already, and any kind of depreciation is good for IT companies.
Don't talk about hedges. Banking.
Sir, banking पे वो तो लड़ाई करने पे ही आ जाएगा if it is banking
She
versus
doesn't know
IT.
what you're referring to.
I'm talking about.
What? Tell me if I don't know.
In the
IndusInd
hedges.
Hedges.
Okay. Yeah.
So-
I didn't get that. Yeah.
That's why I
So-
said she doesn't know it.
So
Yeah.
primarily हम क्या बात कर रहे हैं? We are talking about IT companies. There's a rebound which has happened because there's a excessive selling which has happened in the last
Exactly.
1.5 months, and so there is some buying which is happening towards the end of the financial year, right?
Yeah,
It could be
maybe
that also.
that, or maybe you know, I don't know. I mean, humble opinion, but I think at some point in the next 12 months, IT will bottom.
तुम दोनों CEO हो ना, तो ये बताओ कि टैक्स हार्वेस्टिंग अभी हो रही है लास्ट 3-4
सर
दिन में?
हार्वेस्ट करने
नहीं।
के लिए कुछ बचा ही नहीं है ना, कोई प्रॉफिट
हार्वेस्ट
बचा
करने
नहीं
के
है.
लिए बचा है. लोगों ने बहुत पैसा कमाया है
But
सितंबर
already Feb में
2024
जो
तक.
हुआ ना हर्ष, I think people have already harvested
That is
their
true.
loss.
That is true. That is my opinion
और
as well.
but-
And we had spoken about this. Neeraj sir wrote
Exactly, yeah.
on one of on this forum itself that by the end of Feb, a lot of the tax harvesting has already been done, and we were talking about it somewhere in the end of Feb only between.
So
maybe-
people bought at the bottom and they immediately bought back as well.
Correct.
Simple as that.
Correct. And there were a couple
ये
of
rally-
days where.
yeah.
So what you're
At
saying is
around
that
23K.
मार्च का जो 7% रैली है वो हार्वेस्टिंग के बाद जो बाय बैक हो रहा है
Correct.
उसकी वजह
अभी
से
जो buying हो रहा है और sir, I think this is predominantly FI. You look at FI numbers more closely. You don't think this is FI? I think more of this is FI. You look at the movement. You look at the way in which Bank Nifty is moving, outperformance of the Bank
Crazy,
Nifty
Hersh,
over the
Bank
last
Nifty.
week or so. It all points to the fact that there is interest from
and
FIs.
maximum money flowing into financial services.
Correct. Yes.
Banks and ICC Bank is the biggest beneficiary. I would
Brilliant.
say.
What a
This is
move.
What a move it has.
Kotak, ICICI,
Yesterday it was
HDFC.
Kotak
Brilliant
and
move.
HDFC.
What do you think
All
of
three.
Axis?
So Axis is trading at around 26% discount to its 5-year average valuations. The worry with Axis is twofold. One is margins. they haven't been able to, they've been talking over the last 5 years. Mr. Amitabh Chaudhary has been talking about how he's going to build a very
Just
strong
hold.
deposit growth franchise.
25 likes before we start the Q&A. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Producers are being extremely strict. Midul, you need to kind of go easy on our viewers. Yeah. Anyway, so point being that margins have. So he was building a franchise for deposits, but that doesn't seem to have happened in a meaningful manner, because what happens when you build a deposit franchise is, in a difficult deposit growth environment, you are able to garner deposits at lower rates. That is one. Or you can grow at a faster clip where deposit growth is concerned. We've seen Kotak do that. We've not seen Axis do that meaningfully.
And Kotak doing that despite RBI restrictions.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's where the distinction comes, at least for me as an analyst, that boss, Kotak, people were saying deposit growth, deposit franchise is waning, ho gaya abhi, un log ko nahi karna hai deposit. But boss, they've been aggressive, especially on their new products. I don't recall the name, but they've launched a new product, 7% savings on their savings.
Kotak, no? You're talking about?
6% or 7% on their savings bank account interest. And Axis hasn't been able to do that.
So, Hersh,
so that's where, to me, the
other day
concern
we were
is.
talking about how a management is important in running a company over there, and I think a lot of companies, if I talk about IT, say a Tech Mahindra, Wipro, people are betting on the new management change, right? So what do you think in banking context, if you can name out a few stocks wherein a management change can bring about a rebound in that stock? Do you think Axis or Kotak is doing what it is doing because of the management?
No, Kotak is definitely, Kotak I believe is stable in terms of management, despite the management change. And now the rebound that you're seeing on the stock is the amount of negativity that's been built into the stock price is now unwinding very, very quickly. And so please correct me if I'm wrong. I think that negativity is unwinding to a large extent. So the deep discount at which the stock was trading at is now unwinding very, very quickly. Where Axis is concerned, it's always been a slightly weaker franchise among the top four. And therefore, with Amitabh Chaudhary coming in, there was a lot of hype that, it'll do very, very well. But has he been able to deliver to his potential? I don't think so. But does Axis still have the capability to deliver? I believe so. But they'll have to do something different for them to be able to deliver that kind of number. And they keep talking about OPEX coming down. It's not been coming down substantially. So even some of their guidance has taken time to translate to ROA, or ROA is basically the profitability metric for banks. So to ROA, to ROE, some of those metrics aren't adding up. And every quarter there is something or the other. Like deposit growth is a challenge at this point. Margins are coming down a little bit. So stuff like that,
So
at least at this
even
point.
if you ask me about IT kyun rally kar raha hai, so I said what I believed. Tell me about banks. Why is in last 3 to 4 sessions wherein banking index has shot up quite more than what it had gone down?
FII.
Right? So just FII.
FII. So
This one
4
more thing-
sessions is just FII.
Not just 4 sessions. अगर तुम मार्च से अब तक देखोगे तो financial services would have got the maximum amount of money.
Yeah.
In terms of
That's what he's saying,
foreign-
FII, yeah.
But globally also, financial services or financials are the new defensive. Simple as it.
That is true.
And that's why
That is
money
true.
is going into this.
So okay, let me talk.
And one more thing, when I used to tell the team or in the newsroom, when people used to come to me and ask me, and I used to say valuations, people used to make fun of me, right? And you also used to make fun of me, right? Now think about it this way. We've done a small bit of research as well.
You
Even
just did
today,
it on TV, right?
We just did on TV, and
can drop that.
I'm supposed to do it again at 1 o'clock. So maybe you can watch it then live. Basically, the delta in terms of price to earnings ratio, the Nifty price to earnings ratio is 21. The delta is the most that we've ever seen between the Nifty 50 and the Nifty Bank.
No, can you simplify that for me?
Yeah, so the delta means the price to earnings of the Nifty 21 times. The Nifty Bank price to earnings is around 13 times. So the delta is 8. This is the largest delta we've seen. It peaked out at 9 in the month of around September, or maybe a little bit after September. But thereafter, the delta has remained around 8 to 9, which is the highest it's ever been. So when you're looking at such a high delta between the Nifty and the Nifty bank, it starts to call into question whether valuations are very, very cheap. Now I understand price to earnings is not the right metric to look at where banks is concerned, and you look at price to book. So therefore I looked at the price to book numbers as well. You're looking at an HDFC which is just about 10% lower than 5-year average, but you've seen a 5-year period where HDFC has given near zero return, or rather maybe has given less than savings bank account returns to investors. Okay, not
मतलब
zero.
कौन सा सेविंग्स बैंक अकाउंट मतलब टॉप 4 वाला या अदर 4 वाला 3.25% वाला या 7% वाला वो
तुम्हारा कोटक
So see,
वाला
the last laugh is always had at a time when मंदी आती है. September to right now,
तुम्हारे
कोटक
पैसे है कि नहीं सेविंग्स अकाउंट में, ये बोलो कि सारे इक्विटी में डाल के बैठे हो. हाँ
Kotak is up 10% between September and right now. It's almost a 20% outperformance to the Nifty. मजाक नहीं है. So anyway, point is not that, but I'm saying despite that, it's still trading at a 10% discount to 5-year average. When you're looking at a Kotak, 35% discount to 5-year average. When you're looking at IndusInd is a different level, so I won't talk about that. But an AU Small, more than 50% discount to 5-year average. And I'm talking about 1-year forward multiples, so please keep your eye out on that as well. A bad cycle could well change things here, but broadly this is how valuations are stacking up. So when you're looking at valuations that are this reasonable compared to past averages, you're always going to get an outperformance, right?
So basically what you're trying to say is that the growth of PE of Nifty might be on a slower pace, but
than the banks.
Nifty bank would be at a higher pace, so the delta is going to come down and narrow the difference which is there, and the narrow difference
I'm not
will
even
happen.
talking about growth going forward. Let's say growth going forward is the same. I'm talking about current valuations. Even if growth going forward,
आएगा,
just the re-rating on the multiple which is technically warranted ought to take care of some amount of returns.
While
That's
IT
what I'm
has
trying to make a case.
seen a double whammy with respect to de-rating as well as earnings downgrade.
Correct.
The Nifty bank.
Correct.
There is not a earnings downgrade as such.
Expected.
But
the re-rating upward is expected.
Potential is there, basically.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's where the outperformance is coming from.
What do you have to say about the 3 or 4 QIPs which are out for PSU banks?
All in line with expectations, right? Because you're expecting to see government stake ownership in some of these banks come down, and therefore they're going in for a QIP, and they're doing their QIP. They're doing it at a discount, which is why there's some bit of pessimism. But a Punjab and Sindh bank again 8% higher today. But again, remember that some of the free float on these is very, very thin and will continue to remain thin, because when anchor or when investors come in with a QIP, they still have a 3 or a 6 month lock-in period to serve. So till they don't serve that period, you'll still see large volatility on the stock, because the free float is still very, very thin, 5% or lower. Like a Punjab and Sindh, if I recall, has just 2% free float. I mean, 98% government held. When you have,
So that's not
and I'm
really
going to just
good
quickly
for the
check that
company,
number.
right? I mean,
No, it's not, which is why they're doing the QIP.
too
no?
much of
So there is
promoter-
someone who is missing Hersh. Hello Hersh, we missed
Hi.
you.
Thank you.
It's so happy
Oh,
to see you
you
back.
don't know Harsh then, please.
So
But
98% promoter held, Punjab and Sindh Bank by Government of India.
even UCO Bank and Bank of Maharashtra and
Yeah,
IOB
yeah,
also
I
has
mean-
high government.
Very, very high
Yeah.
government
Sir, if I can
interest.
pull out one point over here, you mentioned that financials is largely looked as defensive nowadays. But
Yeah.
if you look at FMCG, वो पहले defensive हुआ करता था. But now I think it's moving in line with where Nifty index is largely moving. So what are your thoughts, just very quickly, on names like HUL or heavy names like FMCG names like a Dabur or someone?
Consumption. Today we were talking about Colgate.
Yeah.
Colgate management, it seems, has spoken to some analysts talking about
Selective analysts is what we are told.
Yeah, we are told that Q4 is going to be a bad quarter with respect to.
Harsh is unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's selective, simple as that. Why should you talk to a selective analyst and say that my contract is going to be
So
bad?
क्या अब FMCG defensive नहीं है is what I'm saying. People are
FMCG
looking towards financials as defensive than
FMCG नहीं
FMCG.
है.
मार्केट टू मार्केट चेंज होता है ना
Market
IT भी कभी
आज
कभी
की
फार्मा भी
डेट
कभी कभी
में आज की
डिफरेंट
डेट
हो
में
जाता है
FMCG डिफेंसिव नहीं. The new defensive in town is finance.
Financials.
Simple as that.
because it's
Achha,
done what it's
next,
done, no?
Ashish Kapoor, he has a question
Are we
on.
taking questions?
Yeah, we are taking questions. Ashish Kapoor has a question on hotel sector and especially Indian hotels. You have anything?
I don't track the sector closely, but and Indian hotels, therefore I wouldn't be able to answer. But I think that there has been a very large re-rating in terms of margins in the hotel sector. Margins were just about double digit, maybe pre-COVID. Today they are sitting at 35%.
35%
ये
plus.
मजाक नहीं चल
मजाक
रहा है.
नहीं.
ये इधर कुछ structural story play out हो रहा है according to me.
Pricing story play out हो रहा है क्योंकि demand is growing at 8 to 9% and supply is only 1 to 2% increase every year, which is happening. So across the sector you're going to see, and by the way, Q3, Q4 abhi now there's so many events which are happening in the country, so it's not dependent on just the wedding season also, or the festive season or holiday season for that for hotels to run.
Absolutely.
So it's happening that most of the hotels are running at 80-90% capacity, simple as that. So and pricing is coming back to them. And so if you look at Indian hotels or ITC hotels, or we did Sami, I think like yesterday.
Yes.
There are other Chalet, everyone, they all are talking about good margins which are going to come in, and they're seeing good healthy occupancy levels which are coming in. It's all about how you're going to add more hotels or key number, which in terms of rooms, which they call as keys in hotel sector, and how they are able to expand. So now some of the new hotels which or new companies which have got listed like Banter and all, they were on a channel yesterday as well. Banter, premium luxury. There is a huge demand for that. Holiday destination resorts, people are going in big numbers, and they have been able to, capture that particular area, or the travel tourism part of it, which is there.
Yeah, the other piece is that the pivot with regard to business model as well, sir. Hotels traditionally used to be very capex intensive. Not anymore, right? Now with this Marriott based model.
Asset light management contracts.
Exactly, where you just sign a management contract, you don't own the underlying land, you don't set up the hotel, nothing.
And
you
that's
just
what
make
everything.
5 to 6%
Indian
on
hotel
top
has
line.
Indian has hotel has
model.
mastered it. ITC is trying to do that. ITC hotels are trying to do.
Can you just elaborate a little bit more on the model?
It's not you're not building your hotels and running it.
So then how do you earn?
So you tie up with a developer who builds it for you, and then you take a management contract. So he gives you a management fee for managing the entire hotel. So it's an asset light model.
So hotel is not yours.
The building is not yours.
The branding on the building is yours. That's how Marriott runs, by the way.
So why will a
Study
builder
the
who's
model
actually
once.
building that hotel do it by himself or herself?
No, you can't, because you need a brand to run it, right? There's an expertise which is there.
So we'll provide you with the expertise.
Just for established
We'll tell you
brands.
that this is the SOP, right?
That's
you give us 6% of your top line, which is fantastic, because it's like saying today you'll publish a report on a daily basis on IT, and someone will pay you money for that on a daily basis, which is fantastic. And then the one person is paying you tomorrow 5 people, 15,
So people are basically
50.
paying you for your brand.
Correct.
Brand and operation.
And you're just giving them the same
Management.
thing. You're just replicating the same thing over and over
It's a
again.
very simple thing. A key or a room costs around 80 lakhs to a crore when you build a hotel in form of capex. In case of if hotel chains are not going with that model, and they're going to go with the management contract model, then they get a fees which goes directly to the EBITDA. It doesn't even go through the
There's no OPEX.
No OPEX which is there, right? So it directly goes to the EBITDA.
No
So
increment.
is this successful? Is this model showing up on the numbers?
Yes.
You look at Marriott.
Indian hotels is doing it. 30% I think of ITC would be in form of management contracts in next 3 to 5 years. Indian hotels, all the new buildings are coming in that form.
Correct.
Which is there.
Correct. You know what? We'll study this a little bit better, and I'll come back to you with regard to
Northern Arc.
tomorrow.
Abhishek Dave has a question on Northern Arc. Good fundamentals, but still going down.
So frankly, I haven't studied it very deeply. I had spoken to the management maybe 2 quarters ago. There's an asset quality issue, but I'm not exactly sure, and therefore I'm not going to comment. What I'll do is maybe later this week, maybe not tomorrow, but maybe later this week, let me study Northern Arc better, and maybe by Thursday, Friday, let me come back to you on Northern Arc. So tomorrow I'll come back on hotels, and maybe Thursday, Friday on Northern Arc. Let me do that.
Okay, Vigin Dhawan has a question on if Trump tariffs are lighter than expected, which are the sectors that could go up in short term? we've done a piece on our website on the sectors which will be impacted or will get hit because of Trump tariffs. But to give you a sense of it, based on what we have heard from various experts, it's basically even experts don't know how Trump is going to impose a tariff. That's the first thing. That's the biggest caveat in play which is there, right? Means, is it going to be on country level? Is it going to be on industry level? Is it going to be on sector level? Or is it going to be on product level? No one knows that answer. When it comes on April 2nd, everyone will get to know. But going by what he has done so far, he has gone and imposed tariffs on the country, at the country level. And if at the country level, the differential between India and US is around 5%, that which means that India charges 5% more than US charges. And so if he puts a tariff on country level, then there is a 5% additional tariff that comes on all items across the board, which is there. But even our tariff structure, if you look at it, and the article says very clearly, average rate which is coming up is primarily because we have a very high tariff structure for agriculture goods. For industrial goods, it's only 5.9, and for agriculture, it's 34% odd, which is there. But the mix between industrial and agriculture is 95.5. So industrial is 95% and 5% is agriculture. So that's why it gets skewed in that way. But go through the article and you'll see that some of the sectors, what is the impact which is going to be there on agriculture, gems and jewelry, chemicals and pharma, auto component. The two sectors which looks good as of now is textiles and maybe iron and steel, because steel already there is an imposition which is already there, and India hasn't been much exporter impacted much on that. So these two sectors seems to be good as of now. Others will have some kind of differential tariff which comes in. We don't know whether it's going to be an industry, sector or product.
But sorry sir, but so therefore, I mean, we've been saying this on this forum for quite a while, Begin, and you've been listening to us, so thank you for that. But this is extremely volatile, this particular topic, and therefore, should you venture a trade here, or should you venture an investment in a space where there's so much uncertainty?
If I have to stick my head out and say, we are doing a bilateral trade agreement with the US, which is for all the industrial goods which is there. Okay. Now, one of the arguments which have been made is that we have a free trade agreement with Japan, with South Korea and ASEAN region. These three FTAs amount for 90% of the industrial good that we import. Okay. And we import at zero tariff. We can offer the same to US. That's what some of the experts are saying. And US will be happy to take that, right? Means हमारे आज के डेट में हमारा जितना भी कैपेक्स है, जो भी है, वो इस रीजन से आता है, वो ज़ीरो टैरिफ में आता है. और उसके ओवर एंड अबाव, if people are setting up in SEZs, anything you import into the SEZ, it's also zero tariff which is there, or export oriented units, everything which is the zero there. Correct. So you offer all these things, and there is a play which is there for India, and hopefully because Trump yesterday said that he's going to do a targeted approach. There could be that India may be in the exemption list till the final BTA is signed, or the first level which is signed by the end of the year. So it could be all those things which are there, and if that happens on April 2nd, then it's a win-win situation for all of them.
So you're sticking on and saying
that maybe it may happen, because your BTA means the argument is very cogent argument, saying that आपको पूरा इंडस्ट्रियल जो सामान है, मशीनरी, सब कुछ आप जीरो पे लेकर आ ही रहे हो, तो वो भी उधर दे दो, क्या फर्क पड़ता है? It's a question of whether US can afford to match the pricing, na?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you can't.
So you think that if that happens, India will not be impacted, or it will be positive?
Resilient.
Positive for India.
I mean, it's like Trump wants to export cars which are valued at over 1 crore to India. How many people will buy in India? Simple as that. 4 लोग, 5 लोग, उससे ज़्यादा नहीं. मतलब
Hersh being one of them.
1% भी नहीं खरीदेगा.
मुंह में घी शक्कर.
1% भी नहीं खरीदेगा. 1% भी तो 1 करोड़ के ऊपर हो जाता है. तो So that's the question which is there. Okay, there are a couple of questions coming your way, Hersh. I think Axis Bank का एक है. Is Axis Bank trading at a discount?
Yes,
I think we've already
25,
discussed
Which
on
is
Axis.
26%.
Sagar, he has already explained that.
26% discount to 5-year average.
Yes, Siddharth Birdi wants your view on ICICI Lombard and the general insurance industry.
Harsh, people are a lot of questions for you.
ICICI Lombard. Okay, so ICICI Lombard traditionally always did motor, now is doing health. Within retail health, they've very quickly scaled up over the last 5 years. They've gone from 0% market share to 3% market share, which is quite good. But retail health is a very populated place to be in. So you've got Star Health, you've got other players, and whenever you venture into any new segment in insurance, and Sajeet sir can correct me if I'm wrong, you will always be loss making in that venture for some amount of time. So that's the headwind that they are facing. With regard to motor, ICICI Lombard is a phenomenal enterprise. But the problem is that there is price capping where motor is concerned. So you can't go beyond certain price caps because motor insurance is mandatory in India, of course. I think everyone knows that. And therefore, you've got those price caps, which doesn't allow good profitability for Lombard within the motor segment. And in motor, they have moats, they have great distribution, they have very good relationships. So Lombard is known for motor. They're now doing health. And some of their policies, even in health, and I've gone through some of these policies, phenomenal policies that they've come out with, by the way, even on the retail health side. And therefore, a huge admirer of the way they're doing it. But trading at, I think, 30-35 times looks a little bit on the expensive side. Growth not coming in this sector, so you may want to watch out.
That's the only challenge with insurance companies. Growth has been little soft for many of them, not just in the life insurance but also in the general insurance.
But ICICI's Lombard is not on PB Fintech, no, listed.
No, all insurers are listed on PB Fintech.
I think Lombard and I think HDFC, two of them were not.
Possible, but otherwise they've got tie-ups pretty much across the board.
So the slowdown in insurance,
maybe one or two may not be there. Maybe, I mean, I've not gone and checked the platform.
So the slowdown in insurance, will it affect PB Fintech? It will, right?
So PB Fintech is uniquely placed because PB Fintech not just does insurance, it does credit as well, right? So it has Paisa Bazaar, which pushes out loans. It does insurance from a perspective of not just health, not just retail health, not just motor.
So why will someone go to a Lombard and not to PB Fintech is what my question is.
Yeah. So for sure they'll go to PB Fintech, but PB Fintech is a distributor. It's not. It doesn't issue health insurance or life insurance policies.
So will it come at the cost of Lombard ke customers? Is what I'm asking.
No, it will not. So the customer, of course, goes on the PB Fintech platform. If they find a Lombard customer,
something like you go to
Lombard policy.
A Lombard policy, then they may buy it, they may not choose to buy it. That's up to them. The point is that it's
like
a platform.
Like a Make My Trip or Yatra which sells tickets.
Whether Indigo low, SpiceJet low, doesn't matter. You'll have to go to Make My Trip to buy it. That's the PB Fintech model. While that's not something that exists,
but
there are a lot of agents, etc., lots of other channels.
One is coming your way. Can we take a contra bet on IT? Persistence, Coforge, TCS, Infi all showing rebound.
वही है ना sir कि look, I think
and
the
this is Shanu Sani.
Current rebound as in today, right? I think IT is down since a couple of sessions now. So rebound actually जो हुआ है वो आज ही हुआ, and that is largely, as I said, short covering because IT was down phenomenally in a couple of last sessions, right? And as we discussed, like I think 3-4 sessions back on YouTube Live itself, where we discussed about how discretionary spends are affected because there is a lot of macroeconomic pressure that is happening on client spending. इसलिए client spend नहीं करना चाहते, right? They are pushing out their spends. And that is why FY26, which was expected to be a nice year, wouldn't be nice as much as the management was expecting to be. So, Sajeet sir, मैंने उस दिन ही आपको बोला था that management was quite optimistic in the December quarter, and इसीलिए IT shot up, because they were very optimistic. Then this Trump thing came, and tariff thing came, US recession fears came, because of which there's a lot of negativity built around IT and a lot of fear built around IT, which is why IT is down. और जो आप rebound की बात कर रहे हो, I think that is just momentary, right? That is just for today or maybe tomorrow.
So rebound की बात हो रही है और Mrinal has a question for you. Which is more risky in IT, persistent with revenue growth of 15% and trading at 50x, forward P, or good old TCS with growth of 5% and trading at 24 times.
Okay, now very interesting question. इसमें valuations आ जाता है
Oh,
ना
wow.
हर्ष?
इसमें ही आता है. Good to know.
See, Persistent is more of a product business and TCS is more of a IT services business. ठीक है, तो ये जो discretionary spends, the fear around discretionary spends being pushed out, TCS will be affected more than what a Persistent would be. So if you talk about valuations, of course TCS is more attractive than Persistent systems. But अगर तुम growth और जो risk की बात कर रहे हो, तो वो TCS में ज़्यादा है ना than Persistent because of its nature of business. So as such, you cannot compare a mid-tier IT having 50x valuation with a TCS who has been, down a lot and trading at approx 22 times, if I'm not wrong.
24 बोल रहे हैं, but yeah, 20 to 24.
22 to 24 times around 1 year forward पे वो trade कर रहा है. So that is why people are bullish a lot on Persistent because of its product
So look
business
at
and the
what-
growth and the execution, the kind of execution which Persistent has shown over the last couple of quarters is really good than TCS, because TCS के हाथ में कुछ नहीं है, client ही नहीं spend कर रहा है, तो एक TCS या Infosys क्या ही करेगा?
So
Rucha
basically,
persistent on persistent.
I know this is not a stock call. Please, Harsh.
no, what she is trying
This
to
is
say
not a
is
stock call.
कि global environment या demand environment को देखो, कौन सा कंपनी कितना impact होता है उससे.
Yeah.
उसके बेसिस पे आप डिसाइड
उसके
करो.
portfolio के basis पे, no? Harsh, what do you think?
But governance wise, both companies are at par, I would say, TCS and Persistent. So.
What do you
No.
think?
I don't have a view on persistent. Sorry. I just
So that's for my view
TCS
is
क्या लगता है?
5% growth भी हो जाएगा.
Sajeet sir is a bearish person. He is not the right person to
No,
ask.
5% डॉलर ग्रोथ की बात कर रहा हूँ मैं.
Sir, don't fire me, please.
नहीं, मैं ये कह रहा हूँ, मैं सिंपल सी बात कह रहा हूँ कि लास्ट ईयर FY25 में IT grew at 5% in dollar terms. FY26 में IT 5% ग्रो करेगा.
मुश्किल है ना.
लग रहा है. वही मैं पूछ रहा था.
अभी growth ही नहीं है तो फिर
Okay, so why is mid down, mid cap and small cap down today, Hersh? ये सवाल है
Sir,
अने
एक
का.
दिन की बात
I
करके it's
think
difficult to call
I
out.
think
Yeah, but there is
a run up, bit of a run up.
मार्च में अगर आप देखो ये सारे जो हैं ये काफी अच्छे
आपका वो
काफी अच्छे
सीजनैलिटी चार्ट
बताएगा कि आपको कि मार्च में
हथियार सजीत सर का हथियार.
हाँ वो बताएगा कि भाई कैसे आपने रिटर्न.
सर ये प्लेटफॉर्म मोनेटाइज करने वाले हैं
नहीं.
Wow, love it.
सिर्फ हमारे लिए.
हाँ ये हमारे लिए है.
चलो ठीक है. अच्छी बात है. One second guys, we're just giving you the performance.
स्मॉल कैप का अगर देखेंगे हम
बस ओवरऑल क्या लगता है ये बताइए ना.
नहीं उसको यहाँ पर लेकर आना. निफ्टी स्मॉल कैप.
Sir, overall क्या लगता है? The thing.
Overall is most of the small cap and mid cap companies have fallen by 30 to 50%, and what we have seen is
So
9% बढ़ा है. 250 small cap 250 has gone up by 9.5% in March alone. So अगर आज गिरा है तो थोड़ा सा profit booking ही तो है.
and the 10-year average is just 1.3% guys.
Yeah.
So I mean you've really seen a good rally. I mean and
mid-cap का
and
देखो
of course
कितना
it's been
The perception was very different a month back.
हाँ exactly.
People
so
were
so थोड़ा
150.
एक
Very
दिन की बात है
pessimistic.
यार मतलब I
हाँ.
think 8% on the mid cap.
8%
Sir, तो
on
आप
mid
broadly
cap.
बताइए, is the rally now happening for small cap and mid cap? Is it here to stay?
I think
It's
rotation होगा.
it's one of the best month for them, mid cap and small cap के लिए, and there is a profit booking which is happening, which is it. And I think what is happening, what we discussed in the earlier,
हाँ जी sir.
tax harvesting happened towards the end of Feb, and उसके बाद people have started buying, and that's why we are seeing that.
सर हार्वेस्टिंग नहीं हो तो हार्वेस्टिंग ठीक है हुआ है, बट वो वैल्यूएशंस के अराउंड जो कंसर्न था,
250 stock,
आई थिंक एस नरेन हैड
50% गिर गया ना, उसके बाद क्या कंसर्न रहेगा.
In 15 months, this is the best month. If we close as is, then it's the best month for the Nifty mid cap.
not only for mid cap, all of the indices
Correct.
except
So-
for IT.
so
I
this
mean, we
is
had done
par
a,
for
NSE
course, I would
NSE
say.
we had done an analysis where most of all the indices are up in the month of March except for IT. So that is the kind of rebound which we are looking at
Nifty
after.
IT is also up 1.3%.
1.2%.
And March
वो
is
भी
a
आज की
negative
वजह
month.
से
आज की वजह से ना
And March is a negative
rule
month.
out today.
Yeah.
Yeah, rule out today. It is down month to date.
yeah.
So, yeah.
So yeah. By the way, there's one more thing.
So
though.
sorry, so I mean we've got phenomenal
We have got-
viewership
yeah,
today. We've
yeah.
got lots of questions. I don't know. Can we take more?
One
think
last
quickly we
one
should-
last question on home finance companies.
Okay, yeah. So by what? Sorry, if you can just tell me the question. Company
your
going
view
slow
on
down
home
in
finance
real estate.
company.
I wouldn't be too worried with regard to the slowdown. The base is high. Does it mean that people are going to stop buying real estate? Looks very difficult. It's an underpenetrated sector, especially among the small home financiers, if that's what you're talking about. I'm not talking about an SBI, I'm not talking about a Kotak, HDFC, no, none of those. Talking about maybe an Aptus, Aavas, Aadhar, Home First. If these are all the basket you're looking at, I think that traction will still remain. And if rural recovery were to play out, these guys are guys which are doing ticket sizes of, 10 lakhs. So, I mean, just goes to show that they're not looking at the high end and largely not even tracked by some of these real estate metrics, right? I mean, so therefore.
So आपको जो दिखता है कि टॉप 10 में ये हुआ वो उसमें शायद इनके numbers भी नहीं
Okay.
आए.
numbers
Harsh,
में नहीं आएंगे.
quickly, we'll have to wrap quickly. Very much rapid fire. People are asking about what has happened to Dabur slow share growth and the reason about it. Dabur specifically.
So,
अर्बन कंजम्पशन का इशू है और कहाँ पर और कुछ नहीं है इसमें.
no, rural
Okay.
और urban.
That's-
अभी तो rural थोड़ा पिकअप आ
पिकअप हो रहा है पर अर्बन इज द
Okay, Ashish is asking about Bandhan Bank quickly.
So great way to play microfinance re-rating. Bandhan Bank is trading at 1 time or just about 1 time price to book. Looks very reasonable. A bounce back in microfinance could well lead to a re-rating in Bandhan as well. So
Okay.
keep your eye out on that. Everything depends on the cycle.
Let's wrap, but before wrapping, just thank you so much viewers for watching. Himalaya Sharma, best part of the show is the candid discussion and the way information flows. And people are also saying that love the chemistry within the team, quite bonded together. Don't hesitate to question each other's opinions and thesis as well. Thank you so much.
Yeah, until Rucha's here, that's.
Oh yeah.
Thank you guys.
So
Thank you.
yeah, thanks for watching.
See you tomorrow.
Yes,
Yes,
thank
see you tomorrow, same time, guys.